By Visa. We're live at Gulfstream Park in Hallandale, Florida, and we're glad you've joined us live now. We apologize for some of the satellite difficulties. The good news is you haven't missed a thing. The big race, of course, coming up at 5:12, the Fountain of Youth Stakes. No, those are not the colors of our favorite in that race, but they are the colors of Claiborne Farm. They just won the 9th race here, an allowance race with stopwatch. The reason there's so much interest in those colors today is because they're going to be carried by Pulpit, the most exciting 3-year-old on the East Coast this year. Stopwatch might have given us a preview. Dave Johnson and Caton Brader are with us this afternoon to give you a look at that race just a moment ago.
And the important thing as we watch the replay of the Unbridled Song, the 9th race on the card, is that this proves horses can come from behind Caton and win here.
Early on, Stopwatch was at the back of the pack, second to last, with Mike Smith biding his time until after the half-mile pole, swings out wide and puts in the late rally, and front-running President's Decree on the lead all the way was not able to withstand the late charge.
There's been a strong front-running speed bias around here, and a track record yesterday that stood for 20 years.
And let's take a look at the splits. No danger of breaking the track record on this particular race, but some pretty solid fractions early on. 23 and 4 for the quarter and 47 and 1. And of course, President's Decree challenged for that lead, softened him up a little bit. 111 and 1 is not sparkling time for this track. 143 and 2 is a solid time, but the same distance that we're going to see some of our runners in the Fountain of Youth, how they tackle the longer distance. Chris?
They have not made the race official yet. The Unbridled Song, an allowance race here with Stopwatch, still an unofficial winner, and I guess he wants to wait until the prices come up. He's not too excited about heading back. So much has been made about one thoroughbred 3-year-old with just 2 races under his belt, the horse named Pulpit. Owned by Claiborne Farm, trained by Frankie Brothers, ridden by Shane Sellers, is the one that we've been talking about all spring down here in Florida off those 2 races. So with that in mind, we'd like you believers and non-believers alike to gather around, lay those hands upon the TV set, not on the screen preferably. We're going to take you to the altar of racing's newest savior. This is Pulpit. Here he is, the next Messiah of the Sport of Kings. Take a good look at the 3-year-old colt named Pulpit. He is royally bred by former Horse of the Year A.P. Indy out of the mare Preach. He comes from the famous Claiborne Farm of Paris, Kentucky. And oh yes, he's fast. Very, very fast.
Pulpit with a sparkling display this afternoon. A star in the making. Pulpit wins by 6 impressive lengths.
It was after that allowance win, just his 2nd career start with stunningly high buyer speed figures of 107 and 108, that these headlines started appearing. Pulpit is now 2 for 2, winning those races by a combined 14+ lengths. But his trainer, Frank Brothers, is still a bit overwhelmed by all the hype.
It's amazing for a horse that's just won 2 races to get this much publicity, and I just hope they're right, believe me.
Brothers has been down this road before with his 1991 double classic winner, Hansel.
Well, it's hard to compare him to Hansel. Hansel was a very good 2-year-old, you know, and he took a while to get started at 3, and then he took off, and this colt is a different scenario. He didn't start at 2, he's taken off at 3, he's taken off quicker at 3 than Hansel did, you know, so there's different ways to skin a cat, I guess, and you have to play your hand as it comes up, and that's the way this horse came up, and we're trying to do the best we can with him.
Pulpit won Gulfstream's leading jockey, Shane Sellers, over in his very first start.
Well, he was so much better than the group that he was with the first time. He got into pretty fast-paced early and shook off the 2 horses that was next to him, and I went to give him a breather around the turn, and I felt him swelled up on me. You know, that means he just was ready to go again, and I couldn't believe it. And turning for home, he swapped leads and just exploded again. And, you know, I was just in amaze. I was amazed because it's not every day that you sit on a type of horse like that.
Sellers had been converted and chose to get off the more experienced stakes-placed colt, Acceptable.
We make these decisions every day, and I just have to look at it as another race, another horse, and just hopefully I'll make the right decision.
That's why you line up and run, you know. I mean, he's got to do it. I'd love for him to win this race or run a big race and, you know, give us some confidence maybe to go on, you know. But if he just runs green or just doesn't handle the adversity, As long as I think that's what it is in the race, then I won't lose any faith in him. He's just a young horse. He doesn't know, you know.
Something else you need to know. Pulpit never raced as a 2-year-old, and only one horse in the long history of the Kentucky Derby has ever won the race running in his first year. That was Apollo. The year was 1882. Well, let's make our race official. We just, of course, had Stopwatch as our unofficial winner just a moment ago of the Unbridled Song and Allowance race. And the prices are up. We have made it official, and a win for Claiborne Farm and Frankie Brothers. Stopwatch returns $14.40. $5 $2.80. President's Decree, the front runner, was second, and Dubai Dust got the show 1:43 2 for the mile and a 16th. Next week on the Racehorse Digest, Gainsborough Farm will present the Thoroughbred Owner of the Month. And for January, California-based Mike Pegram, the top owner. We're awaiting the horses, and there they are in the paddock. Pulpit getting ready to be saddled for the Fountain of Youth. Thrifty Car Rental, racing across America. Presented by Visa. Welcome to our coverage of the 51st running of the Fountain of Youth Stakes here at Gulfstream, one of the major 3-year-old prep races for the Kentucky Derby. Reminder to catch up on all the horse racing action on the Racehorse Digest, 3:30 Eastern on Wednesday. Let's set the conditions of racing. The Fountain of Youth, a Grade 2 stake, the purse $200,000 guaranteed, $120,000 to the winner. It's 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th, two turns here on the Gulfstream Oval on a fast racetrack. To meet the field, let's go again to Dave and Kate.
Well, there's one word that describes what's happening at Gulfstream this afternoon. It's Pulpit Mania.
Dave, longtime observers to the sport down here say they haven't seen this much excitement generated by a 3-year-old since Spectacular Bid in 1979.
Kate, we call it hype in New York, but from coast to coast they know about Pulpit, even though this horse didn't race at 2 and has had only 2 starts this year, both in Florida. You saw him.
Well, if you blinked, you might have missed him, because both starts were a near track record time. He just amazed the opposition. No horse has ever put his head in front in a race in the afternoon. But there's a lot more to Pulpit, like his breeding. His sire, A.P. Indy, was the winner of the Belmont Stakes, the Breeders' Cup Classic, and was named 3-year-old champion.
And his great-grandfather was Triple Crown winner Secretariat. But the dam of Pulpit, Preach, is an interesting story. Right here on our Racing Across America series back in 1992 in the Bourbonnette, she went on to win that day. She went on to win $300,000 in her career, but her claim to fame might be her son, and he's part of a star search. We had Holy Bull, we had Cigar. That throne is empty. People are looking for a new superstar, Caton.
And this might be the right place to find one. Just 2 years ago, Thunder Gulch used the Fountain of Youth as a stepping stone for victories in the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont Stakes, and was named 3-year-old champion.
You know, this year, the Fountain of Youth is the keyhole to the Triple Crown. So let's take a peek through and see who the 9 horses are who will go that mile and a 16th. Speedball, Arthur L. at the rail, and Kern odds at 9-1 with John Velazquez. Pulpit is even money. Second choice, Acceptable with Jerry Bailey. Jack Flash up to 23. Wrightwood from D. Wayne Lucas's barn with Gary Stevens at 15. Blazing Sword with Gary Boulanger at 25. Captain Bodgett at 7. Frisk Me Now 35, and Confide completes the field at 19-1 with Mike Smith. Now, even though there are a number of questions about Pulpit, every horse in this race has a question mark. How about Frisk Me Now? Was his 105-1 victory in the Danka Hutchison a fluke?
And how about Acceptable? Runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He's had a second-place finish here over the track in the Holy Bull Stakes. Remains to be seen if he's still on course for bigger and better things. And then distance is a factor. A lot of horses trying 2 turns for the first time. Can they go the distance?
But even if they can go the distance, do they have the class, Caton, to compete at the highest echelon of the 3-year-old ranks? But the big story today is Pulpit. And at the end of the afternoon, will it be more Pulpit mania or just Pulpit fiction? Chris?
Either way, Dave, he's a long way from having himself enshrined in the Garden of Champions at Gulfstream. A handsome-looking colt. There is Pulpit, the one everyone is talking about. But again, a long way from having a statue of his likeness. And that's exactly what Cigar had. You remember 3 weeks ago in the Danka Hutchison, we unveiled the raw bronze. Well, now here is the patina work being done, the final stages with sculptor Cindy Wolf in charge. And when it was finished with all the exact markings of the Horse of the World Cigar, here it is. A great tribute by Gulfstream Park to a great thoroughbred. There is Cigar. You're looking live at the paddock of Gulfstream Park, where their horses are just about to come to the front side. We've had the call to the post for the 51st Fountain of Youth Stakes. You want more horsepower? Join RPM tonight, Sunday through Friday on ESPN2. Television's first daily program devoted to auto racing. Let's go to Kate in the paddock.
Well, Chris, for Pulpit's first visit to mayhem surrounding a stakes race, he was very composed, very professional. Looked the picture of health, little bounce to his step, but he wasn't turning a hair. I'd say he is more than prepared for this start. Chris?
The 3-year-olds are on their way to the racetrack now. Just stepping out onto the surface here. Again, a fast racetrack, 1 mile and a 16th. You know what's at stake, $200,000. Let's introduce you to the field, our post parade for the Fountain of Youth. Number 1 is Arthur L. on a 3-race win streak, going wire to wire on the lead every time. He has the rail today, and his trainer, Luis Oliveras, has guaranteed a victory. Guaranteed a victory. John Velasquez, the rider. The one we've all been talking about, the one they're here to see. There is Pulpit. Boy, he looks full of himself in the famed Claiborne silks. The race favorite, carrying the heavy weight of potential. Shane Sellers, Gulfstream's leading rider, has the assignment. Many people think this 3-horse Acceptable has the race set up perfectly for him. From George Steinbrenner's Kinsman stable in Three Chimneys Farm. Second by a neck in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Then second by a neck in his 3-year-old debut here. Jerry Bailey, 2-time Eclipse champion, has them out. He won the race in 1980. Dogwood Stables' Jack Flash, winner of his last 2 starts here after an 0-6 2-year-old campaign. The rider, though, knows how to get to the win circle in the Fountain of Youth. Craig Perrette, 3-time winner of this race. $325,000 Keeneland purchase, son of Seattle Slew. This is Wrightwood from Bob and Beverly Lewis. Trainer D. Wayne Lucas's powerful California stable has sent this one across the country off an allowance win. Gary Stevens, the rider. He's won the Kentucky Derby twice. Blazing Sword, 4th in the Holy Bull Stakes by 7, but then bounced back to win an allowance race here, and Kathleen O'Connell said that's good enough to send him to the Fountain of Youth. Gary Boulanger, who was our upset winner last year on Built for Pleasure, is the rider. Captain Bodgett, consistent runner, 5 wins and 2/3 in 7 starts. California-based Alex Elise came all the way across the country for the ride, but he knows this track. A 2-time champion here in the 80s. Here's our old friend Frisk Me Now, the 105-to-1 long shot winner, the Danka Hutchison, the only 3-year-old, by the way, in the field not nominated to the Triple Crown. They might reconsider that if he pulls off another upset. Eddie King back for the ride. Confide, $225,000 Keeneland purchase. Right now, the Visa 3-year-old champion points leader off a win in the spectacular bid, and a second in our Danka Hutchison. Mike Smith, multiple riding champion, won the Fountain of Youth in 1995 on Thunder Gulch. That is the field for the 1997 Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream. Again, $200,000 at stake, $120,000 to the winner. With 7 minutes to post, there are the favorites, Pulpit, Acceptable, and Captain Bodgett. Now, of course, you're used to our record here with big upset winners. We'll be talking more about that in a bit. But first, there's nothing like a day of racing at Gulfstream. They have so many activities for the racing fans, experienced and new fans. To get more on that, we visited with the marketing director here, David Rovine.
Over the last 2 years, Gulfstream Park has introduced its concert series. Each and every Saturday, a brand new, nationally known musical act performs free of charge on our entertainment stage. Today's fans are enjoying the incomparable sounds of Spyro Gyra. Over the past year and a half, our fans have enjoyed Chuck Mangione, 3 Dog Night, and Kool and the Gang. Of course, you have to talk about racing when you come to a racetrack, and we've helped these fans out by introducing Gulfstream's Rookie Room. Here is a place where people can go in a very unhurried, unpressured atmosphere and learn about great thoroughbred racing and how to wager on the product. Our president, Doug Don, believes that exemplary customer service should be the rule and not the exception. So many of the Gulfstream employees have been through customer service training. Of course, all these enhancements, whether it's the Rookie Room, the concerts, great food here, customer service, are all here for one very important reason: to enhance and support world-class thoroughbred racing, just like you're seeing today in the Fountain of Youth Stakes.
There he is. That's why so many people are here at Gulfstream today, besides the concert. This is the 3-year-old Pulpit. You'll be easy to find him in the race, the famed Claiborne Silks. Shane Sellers riding, and right now, he is odds on to continue his fame. A live shot looking through the starting gate. That's what the thoroughbreds will see as they break from the gate. Set at the 16th pole to go 1 mile and a 16th. In the $200,000 Fountain of Youth, let's update the odds. Presented by Las Vegas. Here they are at the track at the moment. Arthur L at 7-1. Pulpit with just 2 starts, even money. Acceptable at 2, the second choice. Jack Flash at 24. Wrightwood from D. Wayne Lucas stable at generous 14-1. Blazing Sword, Captain Bojet, and despite Frisk Me Now winning the Hutchison at 105-1, he's still the longest price in this field at 35. Confide at 20. It seems like every time we come to Gulfstream and present a race on ESPN, it brings us huge payoffs. We've had 99-1, 105-1. We can't promise one like that today, but we can deliver for you a Budweiser long shot.
Today's Budweiser long shot is number 7. There he is, Captain Bojet, who opened his 3-year-old campaign with a 3rd-place finish in the Holy Bull Stakes, a race his trainer Gary Capuano thinks was better than it looked.
Well, he was the only horse in the race that closed any ground. The first 2 horses ran 1-2 the whole way. Arthur L had his way most of the race, the easy quarter, easy half. They just weren't going to catch the top 2. They flew home after getting speed on the rail. Everything was Arthur L's way, and Acceptable couldn't even run him down. So, but he ran a real game race, didn't lose any ground through the stretch. So he deserves a shot.
He certainly does. And last year, Captain Bojet here on the outside reeled on 5 straight wins, including this victory in the Laurel Futurity at 1 1/8 miles. Yes, he can go the distance. Today, a new owner, Team Valor, and the captain has a new pilot, Alex Solis, a top West Coast rider who was formerly the leading jockey here at Gulfstream in '83 and '84. Captain Bojet, today's Budweiser long shot.
Captain Bojet now at 7-1. Tom Durkin, part of our team, he's the announcer at Gulfstream, has some thoughts on the race.
People can get a little carried away hyping 3-year-olds this time of year. Today's subject, Pulpit, has been dubbed the undefeated superstar. Please, he's only had 2 races. It's time for a reality check. And time to check out the thrifty keys to the race. And today there will be a gut check for Pulpit when facing stakes quality, speed, and pressure for the first time. How will he react? Will stretch runners Acceptable and Jack Flash have to check in traffic? Usually you rally outside stopping horses, but the inside has been the place to win from here at Gulfstream this year. And check out the quick run into the first turn. Sprinter Confide from post 9 and 2 front runners from posts 1 and 2, Arthur L and Pulpit, could make it pretty dicey going into the turn. Check it out.
Thank you, Tom. We'll be checking it out very soon as the 3-year-olds approach the starting gate. Nick Zito, the 2-time winner of the Kentucky Derby, has 2 in this race, Acceptable and Jack Flash. Acceptable right now, the second choice to Pulpit. Earlier we asked Nick, is he worried about Acceptable being intimidated by the Pulpit legend?
I'm pretty sure, we all obviously don't know how great a horse Pulpit is or can be. But I'm pretty sure that Acceptable will not be pushed around. I mean, I'm almost sure of that. I mean, I don't think Pulpit will push him around like he pushed those other horses. I mean, this horse is going to try him. So as long as we keep doing that and he keeps going forward, that's all I'll be looking for, regardless of how great Pulpit might be.
The key word is might, because Acceptable, I think, is the horse to beat here this afternoon. Pulpit could turn out to be a gigantic horse, but he's only had 2 weeks rest and he's only had 2 starts, Katen.
Has the 1-2 punch with Acceptable and Jack Flash, maybe the up-and-comer. Now we'll go to Tom Durkin with the call of the race, Dave.
The final horse, Confide, moving into post position number 9. This is a horse with fantastic early speed, relatively short run to the first turn here, less than 1 furlong. Confide balking just a bit before he enters his outside post, which could create a bit of a problem. He'd like to get to the rail and to the lead. He's got 8 horses inside. They're in the gate. Arthur L acting up. He's settled down. Pulpit with his head turned just a bit. He's righted now by the assistant starter. Ready for a start, and they're off. Pulpit and Arthur L. break alertly on the outside. There goes Confide, and Wrightwood is up close early. Confide on the far outside, and Arthur L. and Pulpit is third in the early going. To his outside, Wrightwood up close to the pace, and down inside Acceptable. Saving ground in the early going in fifth. Frisbee now is sixth, and Blazing Sword, then a break of 6. Back to Captain Bodgett. Jack Flash trails the field. It's Arthur L. and Confide going head-to-head. A dazzling first quarter here in 23 1/5 seconds. And Pulpit, who's never had another horse in front of him, is running third. He's 3.5 lengths from a torrid speed duel. Wrightwood to his outside, and Acceptable tracking Pulpit down the backstretch. Then a break of 5.5 lengths. Back to Frisbee now and Blazing Sword. And it's a long way back to the other two, Jack Flash and Captain Bodgett. A strenuous half mile here, 45 3/5 seconds. This pace is fast, and perhaps it is too fast for Arthur L. and Confide, who have really been going at it. Pulpit is 4 lengths from the lead with 3 furlongs to go, and to his inside it's Acceptable. The speed backing up now. Arthur L. Confide with nothing left, and there goes Pulpit sweeping past Confide, and he will take aim at Arthur L. On the inside, Acceptable is coming on through with his run, and farther back, Wrightwood and Captain Bodgett passing horses on the extreme outside. Blazing Sword is also in with a chance. They're coming down to the final furlong, and Pulpit is roused to the lead. Pulpit takes the lead and opens up a length. Blazing Sword is coming hard on the outside, but Pulpit has something left, and Pulpit is the real deal. He wins by a length and a half over Blazing Sword and Captain Bodgett, who came from absolutely nowhere. And the time for the race, 1:41 4. Pulpit laying about 4 lengths off a suicidal speed duel between Confide and Arthur L. And take a look also at the horse that finished third, Captain Bodgett. He looks like he'll love a 1.25 miles.
His trainer, Frankie Brothers, could not have drawn up a better plan. He had said all along, I want Pulpit to learn. I want him also, it would be great to win. He has done both this afternoon. Set off a beautiful pace, the first time he had ever been headed in his race career. Shane Sellers did a masterful job. Let's take another look with Dave Johnson and Caton Brader as Pulpit comes down the stretch.
And as they turned for home, Arthur L., who had set those suicidal fractions and pressed all the way, here comes Pulpit on the outside.
Picture-perfect ride from Shane Sellers, just biding his time, letting Pulpit get the experience, the dirt in his face, swings him out, makes one move, and that's all she wrote. Just drawing off, and as Captain Bodgett put in a nice late run and Blazing Sword put in a nice late run, they couldn't come close.
But don't take anything away. This was a gigantic victory with only 2 starts, with only 2 weeks rest. Pulpit is for real. Chris?
So many questions. After all, the horses he'd beaten behind him in 2 previous races had only won 1 race. But remember this, Pulpit, in winning here at 7 furlongs and 1 mile and a 16th, had the fastest time of the meeting. And he showed, as Tom Durkin said, he's the real deal. Next on ESPN, join us for the American Express Invitational Senior Golf Tournament from Sarasota, Florida. Hale Irwin, the defending champion. We'll have much more to say about Pulpit. We'll be talking to the winning connections. Take a good look, folks. This is your new favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Thrifty Car Rental racing across America. Presented by Visa. Presents you with a true racing superstar. He's proven it now. This is Pulpit. An incredible performance here in the Fountain of Youth off just 2 races. There's Shane Sellers, the rider who had a tough decision, took off Acceptable, said it was the toughest decision he's ever made in racing. Shane, you picked the winner. Pulpit, who many doubted because of his inexperience. How would he react not getting the lead? How would he react hooked against tough horses? Tom, I think you said he's the real deal.
Indeed he was, Chris. Let's pick up the actions. They move into the backstretch. There's Pulpit, just where he'd love to be. Today, about 3 or 4 lengths off the lead, running in 3rd position. In the meantime, Confide and Arthur L., this is absolutely suicidal. 45 3. No horses have come close to running that opening half mile around 2 turns here at Gulfstream Park this season. In the meantime, Pulpit, this is a perfect effort for him, just about 4 lengths off the lead. If he'd been up with the other two, Secretariat Reborn could not have kept up that pace for the entire mile and the 16th. In the meantime, Captain Bodgett, who was about 20 lengths out of it, he's now 5th with the red and green coming on the outside. More about him in a second. But Pulpit doesn't stop running in the late going. He disposes of the early pacemakers and keeps on finishing very well. This is a very good effort for him. And Captain Bodgett finishing 3rd. He came from almost 20 lengths out of it. No horse has ever come anywhere close to that this entire meeting. Back to you, Chris.
You hear the crowd in the background, more than 20,000 here at Gulfstream this afternoon. They really cheered when Pulpit came back jogging towards the winner's circle, and a nice round of applause again as you see Waddell Hancock, her daughter Dell, the matriarch of the family, Waddell Hancock. The Claiborne colors have been in the Fountain of Youth winner's circle in 1988 with 49er, who went on to be 2nd that year in the Kentucky Derby. Let's make the Fountain of Youth official now. Pulpit, the favorite, $4, $3.60, $3. Blazing Sword was 2nd, and look at that, our Budweiser long shot 3rd at $4.80. Pretty good return on the exacta. The Wittenauer time, 1:41 and 4. That is 4/5 off the stakes record. My, how proud A.P. Indy, his sire, would be, and his grandsire, Seattle Slew. This is a real horse. Thrifty Car Rental, racing across America. Today's presentation of the Fountain of Youth Stakes from Gulfstream Park in Hallandale, Florida, is being brought to you by Thrifty Car Rental. Best of all, it's thrifty. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. Budweiser, Beechwood aged for a crisp, clean, classic taste. And by Wittenauer Watches, the perfect balance of hand craftsmanship and advanced technology. Wittenauer, the watchmaker's watch. Ground transportation provided by Thrifty Car Rental. Reservations at over 1,100 locations worldwide. Call Thrifty at 1-800-4CARS. Air transportation provided by Western Pacific Airlines with super low fares from coast to coast. This winter, take Westpac to the max. Mountain Air Express with direct flights to the finest Colorado ski resorts. ESPN stays in Florida. Coming up next, final round of the Senior American Express PGA Tournament. Down to the winner's circle now, Caton Brader.
Well, Chris, trainer Frank Brothers and jockey Shane Sellers can breathe a little easier now, I think. Shane, down the backstretch, did you like the position you were in behind horses?
I was loving my position. Going into the first turn, I had to get him back a little bit, and, you know, Frankie gave me a free hand, and he said, you do what you think is right, and I had no pressure on me, and I eased him back. He was going a little too quick for me, and the dirt hit him in the face, and he had no problem with it, and I got him out on the backside, and I was just hoping that I had enough in the tank to finish, and it was just a great race for this colt.
And was there any point in time that you had any concern?
Around the turn, the horse was trying to get through. I was laying 3rd on the outside, and the horse tried to come through, so I was trying to hold my position, and I called on him, and he tried to get out with me a little bit. As you see right now, he is, and I roughed him up a little bit, hit him right hand and left hand, and he went on and he done his business.
Frankie, there were a lot of questions about this horse in terms of seasoning and readiness to take on this opposition. You have to be very pleased and feel fairly confident now.
Well, it was a huge step for a young horse. He's just had 2 races, had things his own way, and today he rated. The race set up perfectly for him, and he responded when Shane asked him. So it's a big step up to a greater race coming out of an allowance race.
And any pressures related to these types of superstars? Where do you go next with a horse like Pulpit?
Well, we're going to enjoy this race for a little while, and then we'll decide.
A happy ceremony down here, and the questions answered. Chris?
Our full order of finish for the Fountain of Youth of 1997. Pulpit, Blazing Sword, Captain Bodgett, Arthur L., who set the quick times, Jack Flash, acceptable, Frisk Me Now, right with a real disappointment, and Confide. Our Wittenauer split times, again carved out by Arthur L., were blazing on the front end, ended up 1:41 and 4, 4/5 off the stakes record. Dave Johnson has the owners.
And a quick word with Claiborne Farm representing Dell Hancock here. Mrs. Waddell Hancock is here. Dell, is this horse for sale?
You have to ask Seth about that, but it sure was fun today.
What's it like with this horse?
Well, you worry, you know, you knew Frankie said it was going to be a big step, and then I came down to watch him blow out the other day, and he just exudes confidence, this horse, and I was confident in Frankie, certainly, and it just turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful day.
A lot of fun down the road.
I hope so.
Thanks, Dell.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chris.
I think of Seth Hancock, the master of Claiborne Farm back in Paris, Kentucky, and what thoughts he must have, what dreams as well. Because, of course, Claiborne Farm, one of the great farms in America, has won the Roses once. That was way back with Swale. It seems so long ago. Now it looks like this year they're back on that Derby trail, and Claiborne is serious about it. Our Eclipse Awards special is coming up. You can bet Claiborne's thinking Eclipse Awards. They got a bunch of them. That's 4:30 tomorrow. We'll review 1996, the year in thoroughbred racing. Then we continue on the road to the Triple Crown. And remember, this race was the one that produced last year's Kentucky Derby winner, Grindstone. It's the Louisiana Derby, March 16th. Now it's on ESPN 2, 5 o'clock Eastern. What a performance by Pulpit. So many big questions, so much pressure. And he came through, well, like a Kentucky Derby favorite. That is your Kentucky Derby favorite now, Claiborne Farms Pulpit. Thanks for joining us at Gulfstream. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.